we just agreed to meet, just to meet up and catch up. What are you doing with your cars? What are you doing with this? How's your house going? But for us to meet, it wasn't something we could just do, because if we sit down and talk from Mont-Saint-Anne onwards, it looks like we're making deals. So we had to meet in a hotel room that no one knew and walk in at different times, different exits. And we sat down for an hour, and it was a great chat. We just talked about what he's been doing, and it became very clear to me that he'd matured those 3 years, that he'd learnt a lot. He was now a businessman. He wasn't just a bike rider. He understood his net worth. He understood what he was bringing to the sport. And right at the end of the conversation, I was really tempted to say, do you think we could ever do that again? And I thought, that's going to seem really opportune. You know, that's. And I just did it. I just said, do you think we could ever do this again? He said, why not? Why not? Look, if I was setting up a brand new team with someone that didn't have the pedigree and the experience and the business skills of Aaron Gwin, I might ask a few more questions. But like I said, when I met him in Mont-Saint-Anne, I was talking with a businessman. This was a guy in Mont-Saint-Anne who was throwing around what he thought he was worth salary-wise, and all the other guys were choking on their tongues. They couldn't believe he was asking that sort of money. Aaron knocked on my door and he said, I think I've got something cooking and I want you to run it for me. I was like, okay, then it's all decided, you know, it's all just fitting into place. I didn't know who it was, honestly. When he came to see me, he said, I'm not going to tell you who it is, but what I will say is they're young, they're dynamic, they've got some good ideas, they're from Germany. So
at this time, there was only one option for us, and that was Gwin, honestly. A lot of people thought, okay, Gwin is not really fitting to us and to our brand. He's exactly the opposite of us, but I can tell you he is not. He loves racing, and he loves standing on the podium, and that means the good times for him. So why does it should not fit, you know? The best racer in the world was trying our bike, and it could end up maybe in a mess. So of course I was nervous. But after the first meeting with him, it was in September 2015, Stefan and me, we flew to Andorra, to the World Champs, to meet him the first time in person and ask if he's interested in riding for YT.
At this meeting I was super nervous. It was in a secret hotel room, yeah, and it was funny because he was coming like Eminem but with a hoodie. Nobody should see him. And then we talked. And then we talked about the bikes, and we talked about function. And then I was really impressed from the beginning on, because he exactly knows what he wants. And we also discussed the bikes he rode before and what was his feeling about the bikes. And we had immediately the same level, technical level.
The thing that was cool about the YT was when I got on it, and still to this day, it was a bone stock, out of the frame box, just like you would buy, you know, no modifications, and I loved it straight away.
And then we sent him a tooth. 2 or 3 weeks later, we got the message, and he said it's the Gwin size. It's exactly the feel he wants to have on a bike. He feels home, like from the beginning on. And I think that was the most important statement. And then he was able to find the suspension setup, which was okay, pretty on a good level, also pretty fast. And that gave him the confidence to tell me yes.
And so when we started setting up the new bike, we knew really where we wanted to go kind of straight away and how we wanted to do things and everything. So it was a really simple, easy process. We did put in a lot of days just to try kind of anything and everything, you know, air shock, coil shock, all kinds of different stuff to just find what I wanted. But that process was pretty quick. So the testing was almost more, we were trying to figure out which brake sponsor we wanted to run, component sponsor, you know, like everything else on the bike. So I was testing everything on the bike with back-to-back with a bunch of different brands for months before we dialed in on exactly what we wanted.
I was scared. Obviously, yes, I was scared.
It was a kind of pressure, of course. Yeah, because this was Judgement Day. to see, okay, is the bike really working in racing conditions, and does the bike really fits to him 100%? That felt for us like being on the next level. To standing beside all those big brands, it was incredible.
That a lot of people were questioning, you know, is this the right bike for Aaron Gwin? And then you have Aaron Gwin, who is who he is. I'm here to win. So it was a nice little cocktail of some doubt, some relief, and some enthusiasm to get going. And we had the owners coming, so we had everyone from YT turning up.
Because it was like everybody which has experience about downhill racing and the past and what happens on with different bikes, with new riders in a team. It was like, yeah, it could happen. Why not? So we didn't expect that we have a podium at the beginning. It was a dream for sure. In my imagination, I had the dream that we are on the podium, but no, not everything. No. When I came to Lourdes, I came to the team truck. I saw the team truck, black, white mob. Everything was shining. You see the bikes, the mechanics working, and Aaron was there, and he said, "Hi, everything works like a Swiss clock. Everything was dialed. Every minute was under control." Martin Whiteley was the director of the weekend, and I came, and Aaron was coming and said, "Yeah, great." He put hands on my shoulder and said, "Yeah, great." And I was like, "Cool."
Well, we were all pretty calm. I remember Stefan being mega stressed out. He was the most stressed out of all of us. He was freaking out before my race run, and I was just kind of like cruising around the pits, getting my stuff ready. And I remember he was looking at me and he said something like, "Aren't you nervous?" And I was like, I'm just gonna go do my thing, man. And he was over there like sweating it in the corner. I was like, just relax, it'll all be over soon. So.
When it came closer to Aaron's run, it turned into really strong nervosity. I was so nervous, I shit my pants nearly, really. And the only guy who wasn't nervous was Gwin himself. It was so funny. Everybody was, oh my God.
Yeah, when I look over at Willie, I mean, he's constantly holding his arms up like, what is actually happening? Am I really here? Is this really true? And Marcus just had he had a grin on his face. He just had a grin on his face. He was lapping it up. You know, this is a wonderful moment for people who've created this brand and turned up. And here we are at race one. We're in the hot seat with one rider to go.
It was incredible.
It was a really special feeling, standing in the middle of the crowd.
At Lourdes, they played really hard electro music with hard beats. And then Loic Bruni was on the track.
And I remember that Loic came after Gwin.
Frenchies were crying, shouting.
You were crying?
I was standing in the middle. I was saying nothing with Marcus. Marcus and me were standing in the middle of this crowd, and you hear the beats like boom, boom, boom.
And he was so fucking fast. He was so fucking fast, and my whole body was shaking, and I was super nervous. And then
in the first corner, where you see Bruni was a bit loose, yeah, a little bit loose. I was like, fuck, and he was fast, and I was like, oh. Okay, but it's already a podium. Yeah. I was like, wow. But you have this mixed feeling between, is the guy holding the speed? It looks loose. It was one part which looks a little bit loose. The rest looks pretty confident from Loic Bruni. Amazing. And I was like, yeah, we have a podium. Yeah. And then the moment when he was crashing.
Then he crashed, and it was like, because I like Loic a lot, he's a super nice guy, and on the one side I had tears in my eyes for him, but on the other side I said yes. It was mixed feelings.
And then the whole crowd was like, ooh. And inside me, I was like, oh my God. And then you could not stand in the crowd with Frenchies and could say, yeah. It was like, okay, now I want to scream and cry. But it was like, okay. Looked at Marcus. Marcus was like, oh my God. Yeah. And after the ceremony for getting the podiums and everything, then I went back to the pits, and then I was crying. Yeah.
It's a piece of history for us. It's a piece of mountain bike history, and now we can afford to keep the bikes and not sell everything of them.
Basically, the dream comes true, because the feedback we got out of this race team, it's, yeah, you could not pay it with money.
It was just a wonderful feeling that they'd made history. Not only had they won a bike race, but they'd won the very first World Cup that YT had entered. That's just, and like you say, people out there saying, you know, it's a direct sales bike, it's this bike, it's that bike. It's a race bike, and it won a race, and it's that you can never take that away. That race is there forever. So I can't think of another brand that's done that.